Blind Man's Lantern. In a small English village called Willowbrook, surrounded by vast meadows and towering oak trees, there lived a blind man named Edward. Edward had been blind since birth, yet he was renowned for his wisdom and deep understanding of life. Despite his inability to see the physical world, Edward had a remarkable ability to sense the presence of others and navigate the village with the precision of someone who could see. He often sat in the village square, a place where people of all ages would gather to seek his counsel. His serene presence and calm demeanor were a source of comfort to many, and the villagers admired him for his ability to perceive the world in ways they could not. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon and darkness began to blanket the village, Edward was preparing to make his way back home. He reached for his lantern, a simple wooden one that had been passed down through generations. The lantern was more than just a source of light, it was a symbol of the guidance and wisdom Edward provided to those around him. As he lit the lantern, a young man named Thomas approached him. Thomas was known in the village for his sharp wit and practical jokes, and he was puzzled by Edward's actions. "Why do you carry a lantern, Edward?" Thomas asked, unable to hide his amusement. "You cannot see the light it gives, so what use is it to you?" Edward smiled gently, his sightless eyes gazing into the darkness as if seeing something far beyond what others could. "The lantern is not for me," he replied, his voice soft yet filled with understanding. "I carry it so that others may see and not stumble in the darkness. Though I cannot see the light, I know that it helps those who walk beside me. The world is full of unseen dangers and obstacles, Thomas, and while I may be blind, I can still be a guide to others." Thomas was taken aback by Edward's words. He had never thought of the lantern in that way. The young man realized that Edward, despite his blindness, had been helping the villagers in more ways than they had ever acknowledged. As the days passed, Thomas found himself reflecting on Edward's words more and more. He began to understand that the true value of the lantern was not in its light, but in the selfless act of carrying it for others. He started to accompany Edward on his walks through the village, helping him when needed and, in turn, learning from his wisdom. The villagers, too, noticed the change in Thomas. He no longer played tricks on others, but instead became someone they could rely on, much like Edward. The blind man's lantern became a symbol of selflessness and community, reminding everyone that even those who might seem to need help could be the greatest helpers of all. Over time, the village of Willowbrook grew even closer, united by the lessons learned from Edward's quiet wisdom. The lantern, once seen as just an old relic, became a cherished emblem of the village's values. When Edward passed away many years later, the villagers continued to light the lantern each night, placing it in the village square as a beacon of hope and guidance. And though Edward was no longer with them, his spirit and the lessons he imparted lived on, reminding the villagers that true sight comes not from the eyes, but from the heart.